Hey everyone, I tried to set up like a teleprompter and stuff and read from it so it didn't look like I was reading from a script. I sucked at it. So just listen to this in audio or something, because I'm going to be reading a script. Response videos. Wow. Hello everyone, this is a response to Critical's response to my response to his response, which was a response to my draft script I made for a video. We may chat afterwards, but I think this video will help give the rest of you some context about this whole scenario. As many of you know, on more than one occasion, I've come out swinging against the idea of React content. A few years ago, I made videos responding to Asmongold's defense of React content, and this experience taught me, while his arguments were very poor, it was probably wrong to single him out for doing it, as this sort of content is an epidemic that has only gotten worse. In fact, while I've spoken to Asmongold privately, and I do believe he knows what he's doing is wrong, he still does the same React content he always has. Despite this, I still decided, should this topic ever come up again, I would speak more generally. I would not focus on one particular content creator. So recently, Hasan said many frankly horrible things on his stream, highlighting that he feels entitled to use any other person's labor exclusively for his own profit and without their consent. I found this frankly humorous coming from a socialist, given that socialism is directly opposed to such ideas, believing bare minimum that profit should be shared among the workers and workers should have a say over who can profit from their labor. The reason there are references to capitalism and spiking people's drinks in that script was originally because they related to particular things Hasan said in his stream, explaining the flaws in his reasoning. However, I wanted to be general, so I scrubbed specific references to Hasan from the script and referenced a group of people whenever I felt it necessary to highlight the sort of creator or content I was referring to. In the 14 pages, I referenced that group of content creators 3 times. So why was I mad in my response to Critical's video? I wrote a script arguing that reactors are exploiting the labor of original content creators, and what benefit reactors claim to give to others is ultimately illusory. While some individual content creators benefit, as a whole, original content creators are worse off, and I consider this an indisputable fact given the nature of how the online content creator marketplace works. Critical's video, however, painted my impassioned writings as DarkViperAU called Moistcritikal a rapist. It was the first thing he did, and he maintained this throughout. This was not the response I expected, although that is largely because I expected no response at all. I was not happy that a significant portion of the discussion around something I was very passionate about, and a script I was quite proud of, was being reduced to whether or not reactors are out there raping people. This is at best a misunderstanding of 2 lines in the whole document, and so I rightly consider this to be exceptionally uncharitable. MoistCritical is not a bad person. He is correct to say that many of the general statements I made about reactors in regards to their motivations probably do not apply to him. This is of course the downside of speaking generally. I was at the time very angry. I would hope under better circumstances I would have been willing to admit that Critical's motivations likely differ from others, rather than simply doubling down and implying everyone who does React content is the same. It would be more correct to say that all reactors are doing a bad thing, as opposed to all reactors are bad people. Less catchy though. In saying that, there is an outcry against reactors like every few years. I understand why viewers don't understand why it's harmful, but reactors probably shouldn't be continually hearing this outcry and still concluding there is nothing sus going on. In Critical's newest video, he said that if he linked to my text document, he'd run the risk of people dogpiling me. It's a text document, with absolutely no links to anything related to me. There isn't even a comment section. That's just silly. It is not conceivable that you looked at the document and said, oh, if I showed people this, there'd be some dogpiling on that DarkViperAU. You probably just didn't think about it. In reference to my Twitter exchange with one of my viewers, I understand that you may take umbrage with these words that I wrote after the fact for a different purpose, and that is fine, but your presentation of these words were as if this was the main thesis of my script. It is what you dedicated the first 6 minutes of your video discussing, and brought it up many times after that whilst calling my script an unhinged rant. Many people came away sincerely believing all I was doing was saying reactors are rapists, and that's absurd. While I'm reading this script, I realize I'm mainly just pointing to the things that I disagree with. Obviously, it was a very good response video, as in because I'm only highlighting my disagreements, it may seem like I'm being overly critical of Charlie now. That's not my intention. I appreciate his response. In regards to your video about short-form content, I was being kind due to promising myself to not start drama this year. I of course failed, not in the way that I expected. Your entire video is wrong because you sought to show what sort of money people get from short-form content, concluding it was next to nothing, which is false. You even included a recommendation that you shouldn't make short-form content for that purpose. People in the comments section were saying things like, whoa, I had no idea Beluga made no money, and I really respect that daily dose of internet guy now, insinuating that he too makes no money. The main problem with your video, Charlie, is that you never explicitly defined what short-form content was, so viewers assumed every video under 8 or 10 minutes made no money. You also implied that multiple times. The video not only gives a false perception of what content creators make, but also steers content creators away from making content that could actually be profitable for them. I am also not sure why you kept jumping between 8 and 10 minutes for the necessary length to get money. You can get mid-rolls after 8 minutes, so that's all that matters. Even if some information in the video is accurate, it doesn't matter. Your primary goal, to show what short content channels make, doesn't happen in that video, and your recommendations are incorrect, thus it should not remain on your channel. Like if the video had been, hey, I make no money from #shorts content, aces. But it isn't that. Charlie argues that I should have expected the outcome that my script would be given to creators and a response would happen. I disagree that this was a reasonable expectation. Even in hindsight, I still don't think it would have been reasonable to expect. Key to notice is that no one else listed in that document made a video. Hasan does what he always does when people point out that he is a greedy, exploitative capitalist who is the product of gross nepotism and grifts people by claiming to be a socialist. He threw a hissy fit on stream and called me some mean names. If I had mentioned someone else's name in that group other than you, perhaps putting MoistCr1tikal there, he probably deserves to be there more than you do. The MoistCr1tikal would have gone on stream and gone, lol, I'm not reading this guy's dumb, and then it would have ended. While I am relatively speaking a very large creator, I am still not normally front page news. I say things all the time that if a larger content creator said them, it would be all over livestream fails and everyone would be throwing a hissy fit. Everything I said in that document, I have said a dozen times over the years. No one cared. I was more interested in getting the script out of my head than anyone actually reading it, because when I get a script in my head, as rare as that is, it distracts me from my more important work until I give it to someone. I was, and still am, very proud of that script, and I think it is a good read. But I didn't expect anything more than a tiny fraction of my normal Rambles audience to actually read it. Although arguably many people were just going off a brief summary that I put near the actual link to the document, so maybe not many people read it actually. I have received many messages from creators tired of React content suggesting that my words will achieve substantive change. I disagree, as much as I appreciate Charlie's suggested changes to his own content. Content aggregation, by that I mean bringing all the good content to one place, is very profitable, and the service is appreciated by some viewers even if it ultimately does exploit those who made the content in the first place. As long as it is possible to make money this way, as long as there's a market for it, it will never truly die. Thus, I consider my script more like an old man just wanting people to understand the hellscape we find ourselves in, rather than let us pick up arms and throw the reactors on the fire. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to be wrong. If that figuratively happens and everyone just abandons all the reactors, aces. Charlie references my analogies and suggests they were not good. References to spiking people's drinks were good analogies, but without their original context, I will grant that they may not have been as clear as they otherwise would have been. But even looking at them now, I still think they're quite clear. When the script was released, the most I heard from one person was that they could be taken in the wrong way, but I wasn't motivated to change them because I wanted to get back to my actual work. I honestly didn't give them any thought, as they were but 2 lines on 14 pages. Statements that imply, if they haven't said no yet, then I have consent, are terrible, as it would necessarily have to imply that other terrible acts are also justifiable, which is what those references show, and what I further try to clarify on Twitter. This does not mean reactors are rapists, or rape anyone, or that React content is rape, but the idea of consent as being everything is okay until they say no is clearly bad, and might lead a person to harm if they sincerely believed that was acceptable. I'm gonna be a bit combative here. I am still surprised I have to say that. There is a principle of charity in interpretation of people's words. No charity was given in those interpretations by anyone. No one could read that document and be like, DarkViper is saying rapists are reactors and reactors rape people and reaction content is rape. Nothing like that is in there. That is the least charitable interpretation I've ever received in all my 10 years of being on YouTube. I will also grant that calling Critical rich and lazy wasn't necessary, and I'll be honest, that wasn't all that I said. I just had the sense to remove other instances where I stepped over the line when speaking passionately. I debated whether to leave this next part in because it might make me sound smug, but I think it's good information. Charlie called these ad hominems. Insulting a person is not the same thing as an ad hominem. An ad hominem is when you insult a person instead of addressing their arguments. I did address your arguments. I was just an asshole while doing it. I am sorry that my criticism of one aspect of your content implied that it was all that you do. I will immediately grant you are not the worst offender of the practice of React content, nor were you the worst person I mentioned. I sincerely wish you the best in your larger productions. I still have your 2019 guy song in my playlist somewhere. I do, however, take issue with your criticizing me for unfairly simplifying your content, and then you do the exact same thing to me. Me getting angry and ranting is actually quite rare. I have my commentary videos like you do, both stand alone, and as well as my Ramble series, which I've spent a ridiculous amount of time on. I have cooking videos, singing videos, I speedrun Dark Souls 3, I even speedrun eating a Vegemite pizza. I've done VR games, Minecraft speedruns, Among Us, Fall Guys, I've played dozens of other games. Hell, I started my career in religious, political, and social commentary videos. If Rockstar died tomorrow, I'd still have a career, but you're right, it would be a smaller one. I'm ultimately unsure how this video will be perceived. Perhaps people will think I'm not being sufficiently conciliatory, especially given that I respect that Charlie was willing to say that he made some errors, and I hope I've communicated that I made some too. But please keep in mind, in terms of monthly views, Charlie is literally 20 times my size. Both his videos about me got on trending, and a significant amount of the views on my video are just his viewers coming to press dislike. The overwhelming vast majority of people who hear about me through this exchange will never watch my videos or read my words. At best, absent Charlie's response video, maybe 1,000 people would have read the script I wrote, and many would have disagreed with it. With the response, not only have I gained nothing, but literally millions of people remember this in a few months as DarkViperAU was an arsehole to Charlie, and he thinks that reactors are rapists. I don't really understand how Charlie can repeatedly claim to have respected me and he didn't want to dogpile me, but took an unfinished script and put it on trending, which resulted in people dogpiling on me. I would argue I had a gun, something you can justifiably respond to, but I don't think hitting me with a nuke, as he did, was his only option. There were better, perhaps equivalent ways to respond to my words. At the end of the day, I did bring it upon myself. I did release that unfinished script. While I did think it was the best decision at the time, obviously in hindsight, it clearly was not. Although I do not disagree with anything that I wrote. Of all the things I've said over the last couple of days, the only thing I really disagree with was the way that I presented Charlie. I do not agree that I presented his character fairly, and for that I am sorry. What a weird couple of days. I tried so hard to work on pacifist percent, because that's all I really want to do. And somehow I just keep getting myself into trouble. It's like reality itself does not want me to finish that video, even though it's like 6 months overdue.